Hey, what's up everyone, Morey Croson here, and I'm super excited for the breakdown here today just because it's going to be from one of the best races from this past decade, if not the best race from the past decade, just because of the overall field that is in it. It's going to be from the 2015 IAAF World Championships, and I'm just going to real quick go through the field here, and we got Sue Bing Chan as the guy that ran 10:06, and unfortunately the only thing that they had here was just like the end. Well, the only time they showed a list was at the end. We have Jimmy Vico 10 flat, Asafa Powell 10 flat, Tyson Gay 10 flat, Mike Rogers 994, Andre Degas 992, Trayvon Rommel 992, Justin Gatlin 98. And Usain Bolt 979. I mean, I don't know if you can get a much better field than this. The only person I feel like is not on here is Johan Blake, but other than that, in terms of in 2015, it has all the best sprinters all in one race. So I'm super excited to go ahead and do this. As always, if you like the information, go ahead and click the thumbs up down below. That really helps us out a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, go ahead and leave those down below. And we'll go ahead and hop in the video right now. All right, so there's a couple things that really determine the outcome of the race. And, part of it to me ended up being the start. There's like a wide variety of different starts here. We have a bunch of different body types. We have a bunch of different overall philosophies when it comes to the start, and so we'll go ahead and look into that a little bit here. Big thing that really stands out to me is just the difference in something like a Tyson Gay, who's staying very, very low in his start. Even Sue Bing Chan is staying pretty low, and Trayvon Rommel is staying pretty low. All the guys that really keep more of a spine down position in comparison to guys like Usain Bolt, who get a little bit more of their hips all the way up and through. Jimmy Vico gets his hips all the way up and through, spine a little bit higher. Even Asafa Powell is pretty high with his overall spine in comparison to some of the other guys. And then Andre Degas as well is pretty high with his spine there. And so, looking at it here in the first beginning steps, really ends up making a big difference. And even though that Justin Gatlin is a very kind of disciplined runner in terms of how he keeps his head down for as long as he does, I feel like he really gets pretty high with his hips as well, and really tries to get those hips through at the beginning, which I think really has a big impact in his start. Again, not a great start for Tyson Gay, which is I think partly due because of how low that he says. I really think it's a big myth that you need to be able to stay really low, especially when you're coming out of the blocks. I think you want to be able to, obviously slowly rise. It's not like you want to, go from not running at all to popping right up. But you can see that a lot of these guys are in their first 4 or 5 steps, and look at how tall Tyson Gay is. Look at how tall Andre Degas is. Look at how tall, Jimmy Vico is. And so there's a lot of guys that are in a pretty high position, and they're still at the very, very beginning of their sprint, which I think is really, really interesting and important to be able to know. And really what happened here is Justin Gatlin had a huge start, had a huge lead, was in a great position to win. And, it gets about right here, right now, when you actually see the side view, you'll see that he's out in front in a good spot right now. And then he starts to stumble. That it ends up being kind of the first step. And he's starting to overstride. I think Usain Bolt, he's starting to feel the pressure of Usain Bolt coming up on him. And he starts to stumble here. And, once he starts stumbling, starts overstriding, maybe landing with his feet out in front of him a little bit too much, he, loses that lead that he built on. You can see right here, he's starting to stumble and starting to land with his, foot way out in front of him, right? We always see these guys who could even go rewind back a little bit. Look how well he's doing with landing with his foot right underneath him. Boom, right? Look at that positioning. Boom. We're looking at, again, Justin Gatlin here. And then when he gets out here and starts to lose it, and that looks like it's really the first step where he's really out in front of him, landing more with his heel. And then once he starts to do that, how much of an impact that has on obviously his top end speed. So once you start landing with your foot out in front of you, start over, striding, maybe pushing off the ground, it looks like everything is pretty normal here. I mean, he lands, his foot's a little bit on, in front of him for sure. He pushes off, and when he pushes off, for some reason right here, he ends up getting stuck with his foot out in front, kind of loses his balance during that push off, and then ends up really losing control as he's finishing out here. And he still almost holds it together and leans forward to be able to almost beat him. He only ended up losing here by 100th of a second. So he still was able to reach and almost get the win here. But that ended up being the big difference in the actual race. Here we have a great view of the start. Again, look at the extension that, you know, these guys get. Andre DeGoss, I mean, these are just all such great sprinters here. Justin Gatlin, great start. And so just to be able to see this and really look at all of them, I don't even want to say this is a one person's breakdown. This is all these great sprinters' breakdowns, and just doing such a great job of being able to continually stay high up on the balls of their feet, right? Look at the position when their foot hits the ground, boom, and barely losing any traction in that heel, right? That's super important when you're landing with that first foot, being super high up on the toes, right? And really not losing very much traction there. You know, Justin Gatlin is just amazing at that, where he just lands so high up on his toes and is able to stay really high up, and that makes it so he could push off the ground so quick, right? That's where it ends up having an impact. You can see where his foot's touching, you know, really before anybody else's. It looks like maybe Trayvon Bromell might have got his foot down before. You know, he might have taken the first, second step there. But, you know, then it's Justin Gatlin, and then everybody else is kind of following back behind him. So you could really see what makes a big difference in being able to start and how to be very quick with your start, right? Because it's super important when you're getting going to be able to have fast feet, fast turnover, in order to make it so then you can get yourself in a position where you're out in front, right? You don't want to be playing catch up in, you know, these races. Again, you know, that's where, you know, somebody like Usain Bolt, who's 6'5", ends up actually being able to win. But, you know, even as they were talking about the race, you could see again here Justin Gatlin stumbling. But even as they're talking about the race, they're saying that, you know, all Usain Bolt has to do is have an okay start and he'll be able to catch you at the end. But guys like, you know, Justin Gatlin, Trayvon Bromell, really, you know, even Usain Bolt has to have a good start in order to win. So everybody has to be able to concentrate on being able to have a great start. And I think being able to look at these great guys has a big impact on being able to understand exactly what it is that you need to do in order to make that happen. Obviously, a lot of cool things going on within this video here. So this one's cool just because we get to see the front. You can see how, you know, Usain Bolt always has done this where he really drives his knees in. He gets a lot of range of motion in those hips as he's going. He's really the only guy that does that. Looks like Andre DeGrasse does it a little bit as well, but not near as big of an angle there. Everybody else, you know, stays pretty close to the center. Justin Gatlin comes across a little bit right there, but nobody really has the same range of motion that Usain Bolt has as he's coming across. I do want to say this, when Tyson Gay starts here, you can see that he really ends up in the, you know, for him on the right side of the lane, right? And doesn't do a great job of being able to maintain kind of that middle portion. And I think by him kind of falling off to the side there, that really had a big impact on his overall race, because he came, you know, ended up falling over there and then had to recenter himself. And by the time, you know, he did that, I mean, these races has happened so fast. So if you end up, you know, not having a great start, not having a great get off, it really has an impact on your overall run. So the fact that he did that, I think, had a big impact on his overall result in the race. So again, look at that extension, guys. Look at Trayvon Bromell's extension. Look at Mike Rogers' extension. We'll go and see. Look at Justin Gatlin's extension, right? All these guys do such a great job of being able to push off Usain Bolt. And again, you know, the guys that had the not as good of races, Tyson Gay, Su Bin Chan, are some of the guys that just got a little bit too high early on. Or sorry, stayed a little bit too low early on. All the guys that were able to get all the way up and through, you know, that initial movement, driving those hips through. Look at how good Usain Bolt does at getting those hips all the way up and through. I think Trayvon Bromell does a great job of getting those hips all the way up and through, getting that hand really high up, right? Look at how high that hand is for Trayvon Bromell over here. Same thing with Andre DeGrasse. Gets his hips all the way up and through, gets that high, that hand up really high. I'm gonna do I want to do a video of Trayvon Bromell and Andre DeGrasse, just because they're in like the same age category as kind of my next video. But yeah, look at how good these guys do at being able to turn over their legs really quickly. Again, you know, Tyson Gay, I think, stayed down a little bit too long here, but you know, everybody else is getting those hips all the way up and through. I think Trayvon Bromell probably won in the starts, right? He's out in front right now, him or Jimmy Vico, you know, he also gets those hips all the way up and through and does a great job of driving there. Creates a lot of force, is not spending too much time on the ground on each one of the steps, and that really makes a big difference. You know, Trayvon Bromell tied for third. Andre Goss tied for third. The guys that we're talking about having the better starts really had a great finish as well, which made them, all have a lot of success. I think the, Subin Chan ran the slowest time at like a 10:03, right? Everybody else ran 10 flat or under. So again, great competition, great race. I hope you guys were able to get a lot of information from, seeing all these different guys in a lot of different angles and understanding. The start is really going to be a big thing that we concentrate here on this video, just because you get such a wide variety of different ones, and also being able to see the slow motion of how they're able to transition from there, I think is super important. But really concentrate on being able to get those first 5 steps, first 7 steps down really quickly, being able to manage your posture, be able to work on that to make it so as well as you can, you hold a great posture and maintain a lot of turnover with the lower body is really what you want to work towards. And so being able to practice that, feel that out, is something that is super important. So when you're watching yourself, filming yourself, make sure that you're seeing yourself maintain a strong posture and getting a great leg cycle. And that's going to be a big thing when it comes to the start and the transition phase in order to make it so you get to your top end speed. All right, as always, thanks for watching the videos. We have a couple different new links down below that include different types of programs that I think are going to be very, very beneficial for you. I'm going to continue to add new things to our programs to make it so they're just that much better than anything else that you can get on the market. So as always, if you have any questions about that, would be happy to answer them for you. And if you want to just go ahead and click the links down below, you can do that and go get signed up. And if you want to reach out to me, you can reach out through the website or through my email. All that stuff's going to be down below in the description. All right, as always, thanks for watching the videos. We'll talk to you soon.